Imagine if the biggest obstacle to your success as a leader wasn't your skills or knowledge, but something invisible, a box you didn't even know you were trapped in, a box that distorts your perception, sabotages your relationships, and undermines your effectiveness at every turn. This isn't science fiction. It's the startling reality uncovered in the groundbreaking book, Leadership and Self-Deception, by the Arbinger Institute. Welcome to CEO's Library, the 1% Bookshelf. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into a book that has the power to transform not just your leadership, but your entire life. Leadership and Self-Deception introduces us to a concept so fundamental, yet so often overlooked, that it's been called the secret to organizational and personal success. That concept is self-deception, and understanding it is the key to escaping the box that limits our potential. But before we dive in, let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, no matter what you did, you couldn't seem to motivate your team or resolve a conflict, where it felt like you were speaking a different language than everyone else? If so, you're not alone, and the reason might surprise you. You see, the core idea of leadership and self-deception is that most of our interpersonal problems, our leadership challenges, and our organizational failures stem not from a lack of skill or effort, but from a fundamental problem in how we see the world and the people in it. This problem is self-deception, and it's something we all struggle with, often without realizing it. So, what exactly is self-deception? At its heart, self-deception is the problem of not knowing and resisting the possibility that we have a problem. It's a bit like trying to see the back of your own head without a mirror. We simply can't perceive our own biases and distortions. And this blindness leads us into what the authors call the box. Being in the box means seeing others not as people with their own needs, hopes, and challenges, but as objects that either help or hinder us in getting what we want. When we're in the box, we're focused on justifying ourselves and blaming others. We see ourselves as the righteous victims of other people's shortcomings. Let me give you an example from the book. Imagine you're lying in bed late at night, and you hear your newborn baby start to cry. You have a feeling that you should get up and tend to the baby so your spouse can sleep, but you don't. You lie there, hoping your spouse will take care of it. Now, in that moment of choosing not to act on that initial feeling, something profound happens. The authors call this self-betrayal, acting contrary to what you feel you should do for another. And self-betrayal is the gateway to self-deception. Because now, to justify your inaction, your mind starts to work overtime. You begin to see your spouse as lazy for not getting up. You inflate the importance of your own need for sleep. You might even start to resent your child for being so needy. In short, you enter the box. This example might seem trivial, but the same dynamic plays out in our workplaces every day, often with far-reaching consequences. A manager might have a sense that she should praise an employee's effort, but doesn't. To justify this, she starts to see the employee as not really deserving of praise. She focuses on their flaws and shortcomings. The employee, sensing this attitude, becomes demotivated and resentful, confirming the manager's negative perception. And so, the cycle continues. This brings us to one of the most crucial insights of the book. When we're in the box, we actually invite others to be in the box too. Our self-deception creates a sort of gravitational pull, dragging others into a cycle of mutual blame and justification. This is how toxic workplace cultures are born and sustained. But here's the thing. While we're in the box, we can't see that we're in the box. We're convinced that the problem lies with others, not with us. And this is why traditional leadership training often falls short. You can teach all the communication skills and management techniques in the world. But if a leader is stuck in the box, those skills will be applied in a way that only reinforces the problem. So, how do we escape the box? The first step is simply becoming aware of its existence. The book uses a series of stories and examples to help readers recognize when they're in the box and how it's affecting their perceptions and behaviors. But awareness alone isn't enough. The key to getting out of the box is to start seeing others as people again, not objects. This means acknowledging their needs, challenges, and perspectives as being just as real and legitimate as our own. It means resisting the urge to blame and justify, and instead taking responsibility for our impact on others. One powerful strategy the book suggests is to focus on helping things go right rather than dealing with things that are going wrong. When we're constantly in problem-solving or firefighting mode, it's easy to stay stuck in the box. But when we proactively work to create positive outcomes and build relationships, we naturally start to see others more fully as people. The book illustrates this with a story of a company president named Lou, who was struggling with his rebellious teenage son, Corey. Lou was constantly trying to correct and discipline Corey, which only led to more conflict and resentment. It wasn't until Lou learned to see Corey as a person with his own struggles and needs, rather than just a problem to be fixed, that their relationship began to improve. This shift in perspective had a profound impact, not just on Lou's family life, but on his leadership at work as well. He started to recognize how his in-the-box mindset had been creating a culture of blame and defensiveness in his company. By getting out of the box himself, he was able to inspire a transformation in his organization. And this brings us to another key point. The impact of self-deception goes far beyond individual relationships. It shapes entire organizational cultures and can make or break a company's success. When leaders are in the box, they create systems and structures that reinforce blame, justify poor performance, and stifle innovation. They might say they want accountability, but their actions invite excuses and finger-pointing. They might claim to value teamwork, but their behavior encourages competition and silos. On the other hand, leaders who are out of the box foster cultures of responsibility, collaboration, and continuous improvement. They create systems that focus on achieving results rather than assigning blame. They inspire trust and bring out the best in their people. The book shares the story of a company called Zagram that underwent just such a transformation. By helping their leaders and employees recognize and overcome their self-deception, they were able to dramatically improve their performance, employee satisfaction, and bottom line. But let's be clear, getting out of the box isn't a one-time event. It's not like you suddenly have an epiphany and never struggle with self-deception again. It's an ongoing process, a way of being that requires constant vigilance and practice. The authors suggest several strategies for staying out of the box. 1. Continuously question your own virtue. When you find yourself feeling superior or resentful towards others, that's a red flag that you might be in the box. 2. Look for your impact on problems. Instead of asking who's to blame, ask, how might I be contributing to this situation? 3. Listen to understand, not to respond or refute. When we're truly listening, we're naturally more inclined to see others as people. 4. Honor your sense of what's right. Pay attention to those initial impulses to help or connect with others, and act on them before self-betrayal sets in. 5. Focus on what you can do to help, rather than on what others are doing wrong. These might sound simple, but they're profoundly challenging to put into practice consistently. They require us to confront our own egos, to admit our mistakes, and to take responsibility even when it's uncomfortable. But the rewards of getting out of the box are immense. Leaders who master this shift report not just better results and more fulfilling relationships at work, but improvements in every area of their lives. They describe feeling more authentic, more connected, and more at peace. One of the most powerful aspects of leadership and self-deception is how it challenges us to rethink our basic assumptions about human nature and motivation. Traditional management theory often assumes that people are inherently lazy or self-interested and need to be controlled or incentivized to perform well. But the out-of-the-box perspective suggests something different, that people naturally want to contribute and do well, but our self-deception often creates environments that stifle this natural motivation. When we see others as whole people and create conditions that honor their humanity, we tap into a wellspring of intrinsic motivation and creativity. This insight has profound implications for how we approach everything from performance management to organizational change. Instead of trying to force or manipulate people into compliance, we can focus on removing the obstacles, often our own self-deception, that prevent people from fully engaging. The book illustrates this with the story of a manager named Kate, who was struggling with an underperforming employee. Kate's initial instinct was to micromanage and criticize, which only made the employee more defensive and less productive. It wasn't until Kate recognized her own role in the problem, how her box was inviting the employee into a box of his own, that things began to change. By shifting her focus from the employee's faults to how she could better support and enable his success, Kate not only improved the employee's performance, but transformed their working relationship. This, in turn, had a ripple effect on the rest of her team, leading to improved morale and productivity across the board. This example highlights another crucial point: the power of leading by example. When we get ourselves out of the box, we create space for others to do the same. Our authenticity and openness invite others to reciprocate, creating a virtuous cycle of trust and collaboration. But what about when we're dealing with truly difficult people or situations? The book doesn't shy away from this reality. It acknowledges that some people may be deeply entrenched in their own boxes and resistant to change. However, it argues that even in these cases, staying out of the box ourselves is the most effective strategy. When we're out of the box, we're better able to set appropriate boundaries, communicate clearly, and make tough decisions when necessary. We're less likely to get drawn into unproductive conflicts or power struggles. And importantly, we're better able to distinguish between problems that stem from others' self-deception and genuine performance or behavioral issues that need to be addressed. The book shares the story of a CEO who had to fire a longtime employee who was consistently underperforming and resistant to feedback. By approaching the situation from out of the box, seeing the employee as a person while still holding him accountable for his actions, the CEO was able to handle the termination in a way that was firm but compassionate. This not only minimized the negativity of the situation, but sent a powerful message to the rest of the organization about the company's values and expectations. As we near the end of our exploration of leadership and self-deception, it's worth reflecting on the broader implications of these ideas. While the book focuses primarily on leadership and organizational contexts, the concept of self-deception applies to every aspect of our lives. Think about your personal relationships, your community involvement, even your relationship with yourself. How might self-deception be limiting your effectiveness and happiness in these areas? How might getting out of the box transform your life beyond the workplace? The book suggests that as we learn to see others more fully as people, we also begin to see ourselves more clearly. We become more aware of our own needs, motivations, and potential. This increased self-awareness can be the catalyst for profound personal growth and fulfillment. Moreover, in a world that often seems increasingly divided and polarized, the ideas in leadership and self-deception offer a path towards greater understanding and cooperation. Imagine if more leaders in business, politics, and community organizations approach their roles from out of the box. How might that shift our collective ability to solve complex problems and create positive change? Of course, putting these ideas into practice isn't easy. It requires courage, humility, and persistent effort. But the authors argue, and I agree, that it's some of the most important work we can do, both for ourselves and for the people we lead and interact with. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Over the next week, pay close attention to your interactions with others, both at work and in your personal life. Notice when you feel yourself getting defensive or blaming others. In those moments, pause and ask yourself, am I in the box right now? How might I be seeing this person as an object rather than a person? What would it look like to get out of the box in this situation? This simple practice of self-reflection can be the first step towards transforming your leadership and your life. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. We all fall into the box sometimes. The key is to recognize when it's happening and have the tools to get ourselves out. Leadership and Self-Deception is a book that has the power to change not just how you lead, but how you live. Its insights can help you build stronger relationships, create more effective teams, and ultimately lead a more authentic and fulfilling life. As we close, I want to remind you that the Amazon link to purchase Leadership and Self-Deception is in the episode description. Whether you prefer the physical book or the audiobook, I highly recommend diving deeper into these transformative ideas. Also, don't forget to check out the full transcript and accompanying visualizations for this episode at ceoslibrary.com. These resources can help reinforce the concepts we've discussed and provide additional insights for applying them in your life and work. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of leadership and self-deception. Until next time, keep reading, keep learning, and most importantly, keep working on getting yourself out of the box. Your future self, and all the people in your life, will thank you for it.